What's up, you guys? This is Tim Trevathan in another episode of Tim's Life. And guys, we're going to cover an awesome topic today. Have you thought about living in South Korea? Have you thought about being an English teacher in South Korea and wanting to live there long term? Have you wondered what it's like from somebody who's had firsthand experience? Well, you've come to the right place. And not only am I going to tell you about my experiences of living in South Korea as far as why I chose to live there, but to confirm if it was really the right decision for me or not. If you haven't checked out my other video, I've actually done a video about 5 reasons why I had to escape from the country of Korea. So kind of that gives you a little spoiler there as far as whether it worked out or not. But the time that I was there, it was definitely a blast. But I want to dive a little bit, take a step back and think about what were the reasons for me considering moving to Korea in the first place? Because there's so many countries, so many cultures around the world, so many places that I could have gone. Why Korea? Well, here it is. And first off, I want to give a little background as to how this build-up led to the point of me going to Korea. Well, first off, I'm half Korean and half Caucasian. My mom is Korean, my dad is American, and I grew up in this multicultural household, learning a little bit of Korean, having gone to a Korean church with my mom, even going to Korea at a very early age of 5 years old, and believe it or not, I remember a lot from that experience. But as far as truly immersing myself in the culture, I never really had that chance. And of course not because of living in America, I'm going to be immersed in the American culture. And even though I had little tidbits of that from my mom, from the Korean church that I went to, and even going to Korea when I was 5 years old, it was nothing like actually wanting to be there in Korea. And so the funny thing is, as I started to grow up in my adolescence, I was a very, I guess you could call it Twinkie, a whitewashed guy where even though I was half Korean, everything about me was American culture, American food. I mean, I ate the Korean food that my mom made me, but for the most part, I was just this good old American boy living in America. It wasn't until about 17 years old that I started to embrace my Korean side and learn more about my Korean heritage. You might be asking, well, what happened at 17 years of age? Well, good question. One of the big things that happened then was I went to this youth retreat through my mom's church. It was a Korean United Methodist church located in Montgomery, Alabama, literally on a street that you would never imagine a church to be on. And there's a lot of people there that, just people became my friends, and we grew up together, we played together, and we ended up going to this youth retreat called Living Water back in 2004. And this was a very pivotal time in my life, not just from the standpoint of just going to church and getting to know my friends more, but getting to know God and having an encounter with Jesus. And that was an amazing time, which I will save for another video. But also seeing how Korean Americans who were at this retreat love to worship God. And I thought, man, this is cool. And I don't know what it was, but growing up, I had this ignorant mindset that, man, I thought this was just an American people's religion, but it wasn't. Even though I know I went to Korean church, it didn't register in my mind. I thought this was a predominantly American religion. And I realized, man, this is so cool to see other Koreans worshiping God, singing songs. First time I ever heard of Hillsong United, some of you may have heard. And of course, there's the whole scandal about that, which will also be another video. But the point is, that was a turning point. I became more passionate about Korean culture through the food, through just different various facts about the culture in the country of Korea, the language, and of course, Korean girls. Which, lo and behold, my wife is Korean, but it's not what you think. And again, that will be another video about how I met my wife. It wasn't in Korea, it was a different route, which I'll share on another video. But basically, all this happened in my late teens. Then, when I was in college, my freshman year in college, I had a golden opportunity to go on a 3-month study abroad program to Ulsan Daehakyo, the University of Ulsan, a city in the southern part of South Korea, located not far, about an hour from Busan, which is the second biggest city in all of Korea. And man, I was blessed. It was only 3 months, but it was packed full of information. It was primarily for business majors, and I was studying accounting at the time. Do have a degree in accounting, but now I do real estate. But anyway, when I went on this study abroad program, I was just amazed at all the things that I learned. We talked about culture, Korean politics, Korean language, Korean family life and traditions. I did a homestay with a family in Busan. We had a 4-day trip to Seoul, and we went and saw all the different places like Coex Mall. We went to a lot of the shopping districts, and then of course staying in Ulsan, being in the dormitory, sharing a room with a Korean roommate who ultimately became an exchange student of my university in Alabama. So it was a cool program where it's like we go there and then they come to our university and experience life here in America. I vowed to myself, someday I'm going to go back to Korea, because I fell in love with Korea when I was 19 years old going to this study abroad program. It's called AIP, Asan International Program. And I vowed to myself, I'm going to go back. And so I heard about this program called Talk, Teach and Learn in Korea. And you could get credit hours towards your credit for your college education, and at the same time get a little payment for working and teaching English and then living in Korea all at the same time. Found that didn't work out with my schedule, so what did I do? I ended up doing some more research and found out an even better opportunity, and it comes in the form of living in Korea as a full-time employee working for a school teaching English. See, the Talk program was only for the summer, and it was temporary, and it was through the education program. But there are so many schools, whether it's a public school through EPIC, or if it's a private Hagwon meaning an after-school academy for English, and there's many other subjects, using the term loosely for all of those. And I ended up going the Hagwon route. I taught in an after-school program from 3 p.m. to roughly 11 p.m. my first year in Korea. This was an eye-opening experience, which is going to be on another video as far as what was my life like the first year in Korea. But again, this video is about how all of this, the culmination of all these events in my life, led me to the decision to move to Korea. And so I'm going to start with reason number 1, why I ended up moving to Korea. Live and experience living in a different country and culture. I kind of hinted at this already, but look, I had lived my life in America my entire life, from basically birth all the way up until about 24 years old. I had lived my entire life in America, and I thought, you know what? I really want to get out and explore the world and see what the rest of the world has to offer. And I tell you, if you were in this same journey as me, or at least this stage that I'm talking about in the past that you're in currently, I will say make every effort to seize the moment in your life to go live and work abroad. And when I did it, it was 24. I consider that to be the best time. Right after college, when you've done all of your primary and secondary education, all of it's out of the way, before you start a career that can end up being long-term, where you get strapped in and settled in where you live and work in the States, that will make it harder for you to move elsewhere, this is the best time. Lo and behold, I ended up being there for 5.5 years. So this was one of the reasons. The second reason was to meet and get to know my mom's family. Besides my mom, none of her family live in America. And in fact, none of her family has lived in any other country outside of Korea. Only my mom. My mom was the rebel, so to speak, the renegade, the one that defied the family tradition of living in a homogeneous culture of Korea, and instead wanted to branch out and live abroad. And quite frankly, other than when I was 5 years old and 19 years old, the 2 times I visited Korea to see them, I really didn't get to bond with them and form relations with them because it was so short-lived. And even when I met them, it was hard to talk to them because of the language barrier. My Korean is not as good or at the level of fluency that I would want it to be. And so I thought, you know what? If I live in Korea, I get to see them more often, especially during the holidays. You've got Seollal, which is Lunar New Year, usually in January or February of every year. And then there's Chuseok, that happens, it's a Korean Thanksgiving in the month of September every year. At the very least, I knew that I can meet them twice a year. My uncles, my aunts, my grandmother, my cousins, who all live in various parts of the country. And sure enough, I did, and it was an amazing experience. The third reason why I wanted to move to Korea was to teach, earn, and save money, ultimately. Here's the thing, when I went to Korea, it was back in September of 2010. I don't know if anybody remembers, that was not a good time for our economy. We were just getting out of the Great Recession that started with the subprime mortgage crisis with the housing boom. That was really not a housing boom, it was a facade. And really, 2010, there were not many good jobs available. And the jobs that were available, they didn't interest me. And again, I always had this wanderlust about myself. I wanted to travel, and I thought, man, if I want to travel, if I do, I'm gonna lose a lot of money. And I gotta work and save money so that I can use it to spend it. Well, I didn't really have that much money out of college, and I thought, you know what, if I go to teach English, I'm making money. While living in a foreign country, it feels like I'm on vacation every day because I get to explore a new foreign land while making a living there and knowing that what I'm saving and investing will go to a greater purpose, whether it's to live in Korea long term or to come back to the States with a nice little nest of money saved up to use towards my next stage of life. Now, if you want a breakdown, I'm going to do another video on that, but I'll give you a quick little breakdown right now. Teaching English in Korea netted me on a yearly basis around $42,000. You might be shocked, you're thinking, I don't think that's the calculation I got from other videos or sources. I'm accounting for the rent that the company or the school covered for my apartment. If you say the rent was $700 a month, then and it was a small office tel, then I counted that as part of my income basically. I made about 2.3 million won per month, which comes out to roughly about 2,000 US dollars a month. And you add the $700 per month of rent, and I was really just, my major living expense was food at the time and sometimes transportation, that I was able to save a fairly good amount. In fact, it was funny because my dad, he's always good about preparing things for me, wanting to give me a warning about things in life. Proceed with caution. Make sure you go into it knowing everything that you can beforehand. And it was cool because even with the calculation that he did, as great as it was and accurate on paper based off of the research he did, it was cool to be able to live there and find out that I saved a lot more than the estimated number that he had on this piece of paper. The fourth reason why I wanted to move to Korea was to learn and master the language of Korean. As you may have briefly heard me say earlier in this video, I'm not fluent in Korean. And quite frankly, I was stubborn growing up. My mom, she tried valiantly to try to get me to study the language and get good at it. I went to classes, and believe it or not, where I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama, there were about 200 Koreans in the entire city, and there are 2 Korean churches there. And it's funny now I'm thinking about it because Hyundai, massive car factory, got built back in the early 2000s, and now there's about 5,000 Koreans and about 12 Korean churches. So you can see the difference proportionately now has changed, it's exploded. But my point being, basically, I grew up with the opportunity to learn Korean. I actually went to the classes. I was stubborn, so I didn't want to learn. My mom didn't push me, so I quit the class. I grew up, started to gather or gain this respect for my Korean heritage, and of course, that's when I wanted to learn the language. When it was kind of too late to learn, not too late, there's never a too late time to learn, but what I mean by too late is where I could really soak in and acquire the language as fast as I could have had it been when I was younger versus when I was in my late teens or 20s. So it was what it was. And so I said, you know what? Well, if I want to fast track my pace of learning the language and catalyze this process, what better way than to live in the country of South Korea? And I ended up studying hard. I did self-study, I took paid classes, I did unpaid classes, I did private tutoring. And I ended up learning a lot about the language. Am I fluent now? Still not. 한국말 조금 해요. 솔직히 고집이 셌어요. 어렸을 때 고집이 셌어요. 지금은 한국말 조금 할 수 있어요. 근데 잊어버려졌어요. 아주 왔을 때, 미국에 아주 왔을 때. So basically, I don't really use the language much anymore since I live in America, so I'm starting to forget some of the language, unfortunately. But recently, I've had this newfound desire to want to learn the language again, so I'm picking up my language book and starting to read it, blow off that dust off that cover. Number 5, and the last reason, definitely not the least reason, is, are you ready? I wanted to be an actor in South Korea. Yes! And y'all are gonna laugh, But one of the reasons that made me motivated to do this honestly wasn't because I thought I would be a good actor. It was because I was trying to follow in the footsteps of another successful half Korean, half Caucasian actor. His name is Daniel Henney. Does that ring a bell? And back in 05 and 06, 2007, 2008, there's another big prominent half Korean, half Caucasian actor at the time named Dennis Oh. He just fell off the planet. Nobody heard from him after the Sweet Spy drama. Come to find out, I heard that he didn't really like Korea and his management company worked him to death. And now he's working in China. But Daniel Henney's still doing gigs to this day in Korea. Just finished up SNL in Korea on the final episode. And so I followed this guy because I said, you know what? This guy has had a lot of success. It looks like he loves what he does. So why not try it? And I'm gonna be honest with you. I was this young, early 20s, arrogant kid, cocky, thought I looked good. I was trying to compare my looks and appearance to the handsome Daniel Henney that was a household name at that time. And I don't think I could live up to him as far as his appearance if I was to look back now in hindsight. But you know what? I gave it a go. And from the years 2013 to 14, now I came to Korea. I went to Korea in 2010, but I didn't really go full-fledged into acting until I was 2013 and 2014. Now, did I see some success? I would say a fair amount for a short amount of time. I got some drama roles on SBS, KBS, CGN TV. I did a voiceover for a Samsung Galaxy Note commercial. This is Galaxy Note 3. That's how long ago it was. I had done a couple other for the Han국 관광공사, basically the Korea tourism organization. They had this calendar for the new year and they needed some pictures for each month. And they took a picture of me for one of the months of the calendar right outside this cafe overlooking the city. It was a really beautiful, picturesque picture. And yeah, it was an awesome experience. Networking was fun. I'm an extrovert, so it worked out well. But I will say that I was running constantly. And I didn't give myself a time to rest. And I eventually got burnt out. And believe it or not, I quit cold turkey overnight, just in one day. And not only did I quit, I made certain to just be done with the whole career path by changing my phone number so that no other people in the industry could contact me. I literally just quit everything. There's another video that I'm gonna do as far as what it's like to be an actor in Korea, what was the experience like, why did I quit, and why did I get in. I shared a little bit of why I got in on this video and why I ended up going to Korea. This was one of the reasons. I went there to teach English as a gateway to open the door so that I could get access to the country and then make acting my full-time gig if it was to go on the uptrend. So these are my 5 reasons. Now you might be asking, how did these 5 reasons pan out over the course of time when you lived in Korea? Well, let's go back and look. Number 1, experiencing living in a foreign country and being exposed to the culture. Did I? Most definitely. Number 2, seeing my mom's family in Korea. Did I? Yes. I got to see them very often and I built very close relationships, especially with one of my guy cousins. And I can say without a doubt, it was one of the best moments of my life. Number 3, teach, earn, and save money while in Korea. Did I? Yes, I did. If you want to know the number, over the course of 5.5 years of teaching English there, with no debt going in, so I didn't have student loan debt, which is great, then the savings that I made was roughly 50 grand. So 5.5 years of working in Korea, and I saved roughly $50,000, just to give you an idea. Number 4, learn and master the Korean language. Did I? Well, as I already said a few minutes ago, no, I did not. I got to what I would call either advanced beginner or lower intermediate. I would say lower intermediate level. If you took the test, which it now is blurry in my mind, but there's a test where you could see what your proficiency is. And out of the number, if you're 4 out of, I think, 8, then you're considered fluent. I was a 2.5, just to give you an idea. So I learned a lot, but definitely there's a lot more I could have learned. And number 5, pursuing a far-fetched dream of being an actor in Korea. Did I? Well, I, again, achieved a lot in 2 years, but I ended up quitting cold turkey. So I would say I could have made a lot of progress, but I didn't quite get to the level that I wanted to continue. So if you like this video, make sure to subscribe. And if you have thought about living in Korea and you have questions, leave a comment in the comment section. I respond to a lot of people. I try to respond to everyone. And if you have lived in Korea and some of these reasons kind of resonate with you, I'd love to hear from you as well. And if you're just like, Tim, I don't see why Korea is so popular, can you explain some more as to what makes this country so interesting to you that would make me more interested to explore myself? Leave a comment in the comment section. Like this video, subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Talk to you later.